On today's episode of PDubs Arcade Loft, we're going to take a look at the Sega Astro City Mini console, available only through purchase through Amazon Japan as of today. And was it worth $130? So because this product is exclusive to Japan, obviously the packaging is pretty much all in Japanese, very little English on here whatsoever for you, minus some trademark logos and game titles and things like that. But it does show us that it is the 60th anniversary Sega celebration with 37 games included. Sega did a great job here mimicking their original Sega Astro City candy cab design with the speakers on top, as well as with a really cool bezel surrounding the LCD screen. Makes you feel like you're looking at an old school CRT type monitor, as well as just the overall shape and molding of the cabinet. Everything looks really, really good. When you pull this out of the box, it's actually a pretty dang good looking cabinet. Zooming in on the upper marquee area, there is an LED bar that does light up neon green when it's powered on. You got the dual speakers there with the little Sega Astro City logo. And of course we have these beautiful bright fluorescent green buttons as well as joystick ball on the joystick. Very, very pretty. Taking a look at it from the profile, you do just have some cheap Astro City stickers running the length of the cabinet on the sides. The shape of the molding is really cool. It's really easy to hold and kind of move around with the indentations in the plastic. And of course, the illusion from that rounded bezel making you think that that is a little mini CRT, but it's not. And of course, we see that mimicked on both sides of the device. On the back of the cabinet are what will appear to be two little access panels at the top, as well as right there in the middle. You're probably going to have to get something to pry those open. I haven't done that yet myself, but of course all your ports are on the back. But looking left to right, you have your on-off power switch, HDMI out so you can play the games on a TV, Player 1, Player 2 USB controllers, ports, as well as a headphone jack, and of course your micro USB power for getting power to the console. There's no battery. Now, Sega did promise, folks, that this particular device would have micro switches inside, and sure enough, we have a nice and clicky joystick as well as clicky buttons. The buttons on the actual console are really, really good. I really like playing with these as well as with that joystick. The select and start button as well there in yellow, those are okay. No big deal there, but the gameplay buttons themselves are really good. You'll notice that nothing is labeled on the control deck. However, the top row is ABC and the bottom row is DEF when it comes to the buttons, even though nothing is labeled on the actual control deck itself. Top row ABC, bottom row DEF. And inside of the box, of course, they're going to give you about a 3-foot HDMI cable for plugging this into your televisions if you wanted to play the games on your TV, as well as about a 3-foot USB to micro USB charging cable to get power to the device. There's no battery. It has to be plugged in to be played. They did not include an actual AC adapter. You'll have to source one of your own. Of course, I'm just using a quick little 5-volt community little AC adapter plug. Use this for a lot of devices. Some of you might be wondering how this compares in size to some other handheld consoles. You had the My Arcade Ms. Pac-Man, there's your Sega Astro City, there's the Neo Geo Mini, as well as a basic fun Mortal Kombat machine, all in a row. And as you can see, when it comes to screen size, size of the device, size of the joystick, size of the ball top, size of the buttons, the Sega Astro City Candy Cab Mini here stands head and shoulders above the rest. Although I really do like the Neo Geo Mini, I think it's a really cool device. Obviously, it's just a little too tiny when you compare it to the Sega Astro City. The Sega Astro City definitely dwarfs this device, the Neo Geo. And it's going to have to come down to, because they do a lot of same things, play games on your TV, they each come with separate controllers. You're going to have to determine what games do you want to play to make your purchasing decision. Let's go ahead and fire her up, and when you fire her up, you'll notice that LED bar, that fluorescent green LED bar will light up. It will look better in person than it does on camera. And of course, you'll get a nice little Sega Astro City loading screen, and then it's going to hop into a very pretty looking user interface with some fun music attached to it. Now in just another minute, I am going to hook this up to the capture card and give you some great captured footage of what the screen's user interface and all that looks like. But just to give you an idea here, when you're sitting kind of first person and staring at it, this is what you can look to expect. The screen itself is really good. It does not wash out from any angles or anything of that nature. It's very bright, colorful, and vibrant, and all of the different games look great, whether you're playing this on the TV or on the console itself. Let's take a look at Shinobi real quick before we hop over to the television, as well as use the gamepad that you can purchase separately. But yes, between all the games I've played in the last, I don't know, 24 hours, as well as what we showed on our Super Game Room Dudes podcast show last night, the buttons work great on the little arcade device itself. Plus, the joystick is really, really good with the 8-way restrictor gate they have in there. It feels great. It's pretty easy to play all the games included on this device with that particular joystick and button setup. But if you didn't want to use the included console buttons and joysticks, they do sell a compatible Sega Astro City gamepad. This one right here. And the thumb pad, in my opinion, is decent on this one. I like this thumb pad compared to some other thumb pads I've used on similar devices, although I'm not a fan of the buttons. I really am. I'm not a fan of the buttons. I don't like the way the buttons feel. I don't know what it is. For some reason, I don't like the way they feel. Yes, this is one of those directional pads that is, it's kind of one piece. It's nice and soft, though, and responsive, especially when you're playing the games. So this D-pad, although it's one simple piece, it actually works pretty good in my opinion, but for some reason I'm not digging the buttons on these control pads. They're just, I don't know, they're just too soft, no clicky, no sound, things of that nature. But they do work, and I guess that's the most important thing, is they do work. They just don't feel the best. But if you're interested, they do have a decent feeling to them. I like the molding on it. I like the way it does fit in my hand. It's not super, super, super light. It feels like it's the right weight, and these are $30 each from Amazon Japan. And because you have two USB ports on the back of the device, you can plug in two at once for some two-player action, and you can play directly on the console itself, or of course, on the television screen. And we have a very nice user interface on here. As you can see here, you have all 37 games included with the system on the left-hand side. Every single game has a little, on the right-hand side, a little wheel of pictures of the game you can scroll through, plus the title thumbnail. Gives you also the release date, the copyright, and all that kind of stuff, what system it came out on, things of that nature. And also it lets you know how many save slots you have available for each game at the top right. It does say 2 save slots. Whenever you go in and pick a game, the user interface is awesome. Lets you know what controls are needed to play each game. And these controls match what you're going to use on your gamepad, because on your gamepad, as well as on the arcade system, ABC is on the top and DEF are on the bottom. And of course, you can start a new game or start off from one of your 2 save slots, which is really, really cool. Overall, the initial user interface is really, really good. Now, what you can do, of course, is you hit the credit button, and that'll take you to the console settings. There's a please read me file. That just gives you a little, hey, take a break every 15 minutes, all that kind of stuff. Nothing too fancy there. You get to pick what language you want this to be in. Obviously, I'm in English. And then, of course, taking a look at the copyright just gives you all the legal jargon for the device. You could read through that if you're having trouble sleeping at night. Also, you can adjust the brightness menu of the console when it's plugged into the TV. It doesn't affect what you're seeing on the TV, but this does affect the brightness of the actual screen itself on the console. You have the volume as well when you're playing on a television. This really doesn't impact the volume the game is playing at on the television, but it will, if this is not plugged into the television, adjust the volume on the console itself. And screen settings. You have the default screen settings, and you have what they call analog display, which does add scan lines to the games. Depending on the game, the scan line could look really good, and depending on the game, the scan line could look really bad. For instance, on Virtua Fighter, the scan lines don't look so great. But on games like Golden Axe, the scan lines look pretty good. And of course, you can adjust the wallpaper to fill in, because these games are presented in their original aspect ratio, despite the fact that most likely you are playing on a 16:9 monitor. And what's cool is, to fill in the gaps, they will have bezels you can add around the screen. You can go with none. You can go with this cool blue Sega blueprint logo, or the Astro City candy cab bezel. Let's go ahead and pick that. And you can restore all of your settings back to factory mode. Now let's take a listen here to some fun, catchy music that plays while you are on the menu systems. Which that music is, you know, it's kind of fun, but honestly, it can get annoying after listening to it for a long, long time. When it comes to the game lineup overall, I think it's good, though I'm surprised some games such as Thunderblade, Sonic the Fighters, Afterburner were not put on this particular console. It would have been really nice to have those on here, but we do have a couple cool things like Arabian Fight, as well as Rad Mobile, and Golden Axe: The Revenge of the Death Adder. Amazing having this game on here. As you can see, the Astro City side bezels look pretty cool, and the games also sound and look really good on the television. I could definitely play these. I think this is outputting at 720p, and I'll take it. Here's a quick shot for you of what the side bezels wallpaper look like with the blueprint design. In my opinion, either going plain black or that Sega Astro City one is the way to go. Really don't like the side bezels here. Let's take a look at some seconds of gameplay from a bunch of my favorite games playing on this console. Now, it's important to note that, as you can see here, although you set it to English, there are some games where the character commentary is in Japanese, and honestly, unless you speak Japanese, you don't know what they're saying. Which is why it might be a good idea also to wait to see if this becomes a officially United States released version coming down the road, where everything in the games are in English. Hopefully that'll happen down the road. Overall, guys, the game selection is a lot of fun on here. 37 pretty good games, as well as the buttons, the sticks have really good micro switches and feels to them on the console themselves. Everything appears to be really well done. The molding, the sound is really good, as well as when it comes to having the ability to plug it into your television, play games on your TV, as well as use gamepads via USB. The gamepads themselves, I think, are overpriced at about $26. I'm feeling those gamepads should be $20. And when it comes to the console itself, it's a little hard to justify $130. I honestly think this thing should be $99. But if you can swallow paying just a few more bucks and you don't mind that this isn't an official release and there's some Japanese language mixed in, this might be a console for you. Thanks so much, guys, and thanks for subscribing. Give us a thumbs up.